Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm Jay, and this is the 2016 Ferrari California T, and it is the subject of today's unboxing review video. I'm going to talk to you about a brief history of the California name. I'm going to specifically talk to you more about its engine, this car's performance, its interior and exterior styling, how does it drive, and most importantly, what's the competition? But first, I also want to thank Ferrari of San Francisco for letting me come on down and film today. So, the Ferrari California, that was a name that was inspired by the late 1950s 250 GT Spider California, as well as the early 1960s Ferrari California, which a replica of which was featured in the famous movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off, for all of you movie buffs. But Ferrari revived the California name back in 2008 when the Ferrari California was launched. And its successor, the car you see here, the California T, came out in 2014 at the Geneva Motor Show. But like the Ferrari California, the California T it's considered the everyday Ferrari. But I don't want you to think that this is an entry-level Ferrari, because it's not. It's just a little different compared to the other Ferraris in the lineup, specifically the 488 GTB and the V12-powered F12berlinetta. But the moment you kind of look at this Ferrari inside and out, it's clearly an Italian exotic. And what's interesting is that the first generation Ferrari California, it was originally intended to be a Maserati, but plans changed and it got rebadged and restyled as a Ferrari instead. But there was a lot of criticism regarding the 2008 Ferrari California. It just, its exterior design wasn't quite there. Its refinement wasn't quite there as well. But Ferrari has made this car worlds better. The California T, it's better in every way. The basic platform is the same as the California, but everything else is different. The engine, interior, exterior, and the chassis setup, it's all new and all for the better. And just looking at this exterior design, if you've ever seen a Ferrari California, the older one, you'll see it kind of has a little bit of a lumpier design. It was a little controversial for many. I personally was not a big fan of it, but the California T, I think it's just absolutely gorgeous. And the front end styling here was actually also inspired by the V12 powered F12berlinetta, and that's a very good car. I just went for a wonderful spin in that at Spa last month. It is an absolutely incredible driving experience. But as I was saying, one of the new elements to this car is the engine. It is a 3.9-liter twin-turbo V8. It has a total of 552 horsepower and 557 pound-feet of torque, and it's paired exclusively with a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission with manual shifting mode. And like the dual clutches that Ferrari has been building for many years now, it is F1-derived technology. And that's pretty much what Ferrari is sticking with. There are no manual gearboxes in any new Ferraris anymore. Don't expect for them to come back anytime soon. But with this engine here, the Ferrari California, this car's predecessor, it was powered by a 4.3-liter naturally aspirated V8, and it had 453 horsepower and 358 pound-feet of torque. Do the comparison, 552 versus 453 horsepower by a twin-turbo V8. You're getting a lot more horsepower by turbocharging this here. And it still really, truly looks like a Ferrari engine. And just the engine itself it's a work of art. It needs to look beautiful. This is not the engine of just your everyday car. It needs to look exotic. It needs to look fast. And, that's what a Ferrari is all about. Now, one of the concerns about a turbocharged Ferrari, or in this case, a twin turbocharged Ferrari, is turbo lag. So, what is turbo lag? A simple definition is it's the time between the driver's demand for more power and when the turbocharger can provide it. And turbos, they basically rely on the buildup of exhaust gas pressure to drive the turbine. And Ferrari, the product manager of the California T, assured me back in 2014 at Geneva that there is no turbo lag. I asked him, are you 100% sure? And he said with a smile, absolutely. And leave it to Ferrari engineers to eliminate something like turbo lag. This car accelerates brilliantly. It goes from 0 to 62 miles per hour in 3.6 seconds. Its predecessor did that in 3.9 seconds. You'll also get in this car 0 to 124 miles per hour in 7.6 seconds. And top speed is 196 miles per hour. And something else that's also very good to know is that it has 15% less air pollution than the naturally aspirated Ferrari California. So that is one of the main reasons for why Ferrari is going to twin turbos. There's less CO2 emissions, but they've also managed to increase the power and eliminate turbo lag. It's perfect. Now looking inside here, again, this is very clearly Ferrari. You can still see those very large air conditioning vents. It's a very simple layout, and I like that. It's straightforward and very comfortable, and all the materials are just so wonderful. It's only the finest leathers. All that stitching is hand done. It's brilliant. And, leave it to companies like Ferrari to pay attention to the little details, even the way the exhaust note sounds. So let's start it up here and see how this twin turbo engine sounds. So twin turbocharging, I don't think, in my opinion, it detracts from what a Ferrari needs to be. The 488 GTB, I want to specifically point this out, has the same engine as this car, but it's slightly higher displacement and obviously more powerful. But again, Ferrari is moving in the direction of turbocharging, and in the case of the LaFerrari, a very, very rare and special car, it has hybrid technology included as well. But as I was saying before, the interior, it's comfortable, and that's what should be expected in a GT car. And, it's an interesting mix here, because you see the steering wheel here, and it looks a lot like an F1 race car. And that's what Ferrari does for all of its road cars, steering wheels that look like this. And it's interesting. It's just an interesting mix between high performance and everyday GT cruising. Now, the touch screen system here, it was pretty good. The nav system was not the best on the market. I think it could be better, but if you've ever seen any other older Ferrari systems, this one in the California T here, it's a very nice improvement. Not everything is entirely controlled by the touch screen. There's also dual zone climate control, which has the typical knobs and such like that. And I like that combination between touch screen and analog controls. But as you saw, that interior, the steering wheel has a lot of buttons, and they control everything from starting the car, the windshield wipers, and even the turn signals are on the steering wheel as well. And it's something you have to get used to. If you compare it to, say, a Porsche 911, those cars, their steering wheels are button-free. It's just a different way of showing off performance. Porsche believes that the driver should be entirely focused on the road, but Ferrari says, well, we're really big into Formula One, and we want our daily road customers to experience the closest thing to an F1 car as possible. And the transmission, a 7-speed dual clutch, is controlled by those 3 buttons right there. And another example is you're about to see is how this is a daily driver Ferrari. There it is, a cup holder. Just one, a single cup holder, but that is what makes this Ferrari the everyday model. And what's very interesting is that 70% of California T buyers, they're new to the brand, meaning they weren't looking to buy a Ferrari specifically. They were looking to buy a GT exotic car. And that brings me to what is the competition for the Ferrari California T? And this is a very, very important thing you're going to want to understand here. The first cars that come to mind are Aston Martins, specifically the Aston Martin V12 Vantage S. That has 565 horsepower and 457 pound-feet of torque. Again, the Ferrari California T here has 552 horsepower and 557 pound-feet of torque as well. There's also the Aston Martin DB11, which is brand new. That has 600 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque. So it's more powerful, but it's also going to be more expensive. And of course, there's also the Mercedes-AMG GTS. That has a 4.0-liter twin-turbo V8 with 503 horsepower and 480 pound-feet of torque. So all these cars here cost over $200,000, and they're direct competitors towards each other. They're not supercars. The 488 GTB, that's a supercar. F12, supercar. These are exotics. An example of which is this folding hardtop, which opens and closes in about 14 seconds. But what's interesting is that you can only open and close this from a complete standstill. The car cannot be in motion. But a hardtop like this, it does add weight, but I don't think that's going to be something that buyers are going to really care much about for the California T. They want to go everywhere in a lot of style, and this car is just made for cruising. The name Ferrari, California, they chose California for a very good reason. Imagine driving this car along that Pacific Coast Highway. Now, every single driver can get completely comfortable in this car, as opposed to an F12 I was recently in. You sit lower to the ground and you're meant to feel more of that F1 experience. The Ferrari California T is not quite like that, and nowhere is it meant to be. And speaking of pricing here, the Ferrari California T, it costs a base price of $198,000 and has over $3,700 in delivery and handling fees. But along with some of the extra features that you see here, this car came to a total of $222,709. It's not cheap, but it's very competitively priced with all the other cars I mentioned. And basically, Ferrari realized, why should we not be able to compete in this segment when our previous entry-level model was kind of like the 458 Italia or the old Mondenas, and let Aston Martin have this entire segment of buyers to themselves? This is why Ferrari built the California and its California T successor. Even trunk space is really good for a car this size. There are a couple of small seats, and they do fold flat for increased space. Again, Ferrari wants its owners to be able to take this to the golf course and on long weekend road trips. But don't think that this is this car is cheap at over $200,000. I just want to give you an example here. There's about 28 available exterior colors, and 21 of which cost around $12,000 extra. So yes, this is a true Ferrari, and the price adds up very, very fast. And as with any Ferrari, the fuel economy, it's decent. The California T averages 16 miles per gallon in the city, 23 miles per gallon on the highway, and a combined 18 miles per gallon. But when I say, going back to the 70% of customers who are new to the brand, for an example, the Ferrari California T, it is the Ferrari that would say Mark Zuckerberg would buy. I know for a fact he drives a Volkswagen Golf GTI, and if he wanted to upgrade to his first Ferrari, this would more than likely be it. It's less aggressive than the 488 and F12, and that's a good thing. Not everybody wants a full-blown supercar Ferrari. They just want a gorgeous daily cruiser that's comfortable, that's a little more spacious, and it's just easier to handle. And that is why the California T exists. So if any of you have any more questions, please feel free to leave them for me in the comment section below. I promise to answer all of them. If there are any additional cars you would like to see me review, also leave that in the comment section below. And be sure to check out the full review of the Ferrari California T on carbuzz.com. And until then, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.